Hey, everybody. Today we have for you podcast number 141. Today's podcast is entitled, Nobody Wants to Ride the Pain Train. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of your weekly Limitless Life Network podcast. We are Dr. Pete and Sandy Lombardi, and this is the Limitless Life Network podcast where we flesh out the limitations that are preventing you from reaching your goals and living the life that you are called to lead. So,
welcome back, everybody.
yeah, glad to have you back, tuned in again, and yeah, we got an interesting podcast. We couldn't stop laughing before the podcast started. So
We're starting to have fun with this.
I think my wife she's been biohacking too much. It's kind of a running joke. And actually that's kind of a good lead into the to the backstory. But
we are exploring a lot of different things, aren't we?
Yes, we are. We want to thank you guys for all the great comments, all the positive feedback, and sharing podcasts with friends, and all the nice things that you do. So your encouragement still does not go unnoticed. So thank you. But on with the biohacking stories. So yeah, we've been on this journey of learning about good things for our health, and we've been doing this for decades now. My wife has always wanted a sauna. Yay, she got one this year. And so we've been both enjoying that. And what would you say has been your favorite part about it?
The convenience of having it here in the house.
Okay.
I guess. And it's quiet. I can read a book in it.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing is I sleep a lot better after I get it. I fall asleep quicker and I sleep deeper. So that's been, I was looking for
I'm definitely sleeping better with it.
Okay. So there you go. We both kind of noticed that from one of our biohacks. But just recently we have come into the ownership of something that I don't know if I necessarily wanted, but I'm kind of glad we have it. It's a cold plunge. And, this is a really good thing to talk about today. It kind of goes into the, why would somebody want to have a tub that chills water to really cold, not ice, but it can chill it pretty cold, and then jump in it? Like it doesn't seem to make sense, but science says it's good for me. So I'm willing to try it. And I didn't know. I mean, I've jumped in cold bodies of water before, and it's cold. It's just as you would expect. But done with consistency, it has some very good biological effects. So that brings us to our title today, which is Nobody Wants to Ride the Pain Train.
Right.
So I think it's worth talking about the topic of pain. It's something that I've talked about for years with practice members because one of the things that brings people to meet me, unfortunately and fortunately, is discomfort, is pain. So let's start off with point number one. And what is the purpose of pain? What do you think, Sandy? What would you, just off the cuff, what do you think the purpose of pain is?
I think it's a signal. Like our body is alerting us that something's wrong.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. That's very true. Is all pain bad?
I would say no. I think probably all pain feels bad.
Yes.
Right?
So, whenever somebody asks a question, is something always this? Always. Usually like a true false question.
Right.
It's usually going to be, it's like the telltale sign. It's probably going to be false, right? So is pain always bad? No, not necessarily. So can you think of an example where pain, even though it doesn't feel good, but it's actually good for you?
Doesn't feel good, but it's good for me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Can you think of anything?
Well, if I sprain an ankle, it hurts, but then I don't continue to run on it. So maybe that's an example.
Well, that's protective. That's good for you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
pain can serve the purpose of protection. Today, I had the pleasure of getting my once a month massage.
Okay.
And so I went to see Jessica Evans Curley, and she is a master at massage. And she is also a master at putting me in pain and finding muscles on me that I didn't know were tight and sore. And so I will lay there and allow her to goad her elbow or her thumb or her whatever into these muscles and put me in a significant amount of pain. And the reason why is because I know that the outcome is going to be good and it's not going to last forever. So pain can actually be very good for you if you know
Sure.
something really important, and that's what's causing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is one of the most important things for people to get to understand and wrap their head around is to, if you understand the cause, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand where their pain is originating from. And therefore, when you don't understand something, you feel in the dark, and then you get frustrated, you get concerned, you get,
I've been fearful.
fearful. Yeah, for sure.
Well, the one thing I guess I could relate to with that would be childbirth. I ended up becoming a childbirth educator after my first birth because I wanted to fully understand what was happening to my body. And that made such a difference with the subsequent births because then I understood what the uterus was doing and why. And so you felt like you were working along with you're working intentionally with the pain of your body. And then it had purpose. So, yeah.
Yeah. So that was super important because you understood the cause of it, and therefore you understood the utility and what that was meaning. It literally was giving you feedback as to where you were in the delivery process.
Right. And it's empowering because then I was able to submit to it because I knew like tensing up and working against it was making it far worse. So yeah, being educated allowed me to work with it.
Yeah. So yeah, purpose of pain. Pain serves a purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next point is, can joy and pain coexist? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think childbirth is a perfect example of that, right? Joy and pain. Absolutely.
Okay. And can you think of any other areas where it can coexist? That's a good one.
Joy and pain. How about like celebration of a loved one's passing? Like that can be joy and pain. Like there's pain, there's sorrow, there's loss, but there's also joy if you know they're in heaven and that someday you'll see them again and maybe they were in excruciating pain here and their suffering is then, their physical suffering is now gone. So I mean, yeah, that would be a mix of joy and pain.
Yeah, Grace and I dropped in on a friend who lost her husband last night. We stopped by, and sometimes I drive by and nobody's really there. The house looks dark, but I stopped by to see this woman and with my daughter Grace, and there were a bunch of cars in her driveway, and I was like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna crash her party. She's got a little Bible study or something going on," and so we went up to the door and. We also pulled up in our old truck, our 1974.
I'm sure they heard you coming.
Yeah, they did. They said they heard us coming. So anyway, we pulled up in the old truck and we went in to see them, and they were just having the time of their life. Meanwhile, this woman, is not too many months out from her husband passing, who she'd been married to for decade upon decade. I don't know how many years it actually was. Yeah, probably 50 years, close to it. Yeah, at least maybe more than 50 years. Yeah. So, but yet she's grieving, but she's also having fun. And she was laughing and just the smile that I've always known, she still had it. And she was enjoying her life still in the midst of that. And that takes a special person to do that. But I don't think it's because, and it's not an accident. It's because of her faith. because she knows her husband's place
Mm-hmm.
is secure, you
Yeah.
know? So I think joy and pain can coexist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. One of the statements that we were researching when we were looking this up and trying to figure out what we're going to talk about is pain is inevitable. Like we will all face pain in our life, but the suffering part of it is optional. We don't have to choose to suffer. We can choose to be joyous in the midst of pain if you can understand what's causing it
Mm-hmm.
and just realize that if you can't change it. When things are inevitable, it means that you can't change it. The weather is inevitable. We can be disagreeable about it. We can be frustrated by a lot of rain or a lot of snow or cold weather or whatever it is, but it's inevitable. You can't change it. So don't suffer. Look at the bright side of things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Number 3, purpose often grows in the shadows. And here we were thinking like it's often darkness that our growth comes out of. So it could be a time of grief, a time of heartbreak, a time of interruption, right? Where there's something that happens. It seems like it's a dark time, but that's the beginning of something growing in us. And we can think of a lot of personal examples of that, and I bet a lot of you can too.
Well, you know what I just thought of is this month is I think it's the 50th. No, not the 50th. The 30th race. Well, there's a 5K, a local 5K, and it's the 30th year of the Nate the Great race.
Oh, okay.
And so this family lost their son, who was a track athlete. He died in a car accident. He was going to go on to college to be a runner in college. So out of that, his father created this whole purpose to just use his son's death for something positive.
Mm-hmm.
And it has literally been probably one of the most joyous things in his life to do, even though it's hard. And every year it's a grieving process to remember his son, but he's never forgot him. He's memorialized him with this race. And the whole town, the whole community, gets involved in it. And it's in Canastota, New York, which is where the Boxing Hall of Fame is. And so you have, world famous boxers that run in this race.
Mm-hmm.
And out of something that was so tragic, he has found tremendous purpose and has served, the track community and the high school and the whole community itself in such a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's what I can think of. Out of grief, loss, failure. Walt Disney went bankrupt 7 times before he made it. Like eventually he worked it out. So just because things don't go right for you right off the bat, it's okay. There's a lesson in there to learn.
Mm-hmm. And that is often in the hindsight. We see it, years later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The lesson in it.
Well, we see that now with that race. It's 30 years have gone by. Now you can reflect back and look at what's happened.
Mm-hmm.
There was a tragic loss of a child recently, a teenager, and their family doesn't. It's so raw and so fresh. I can only imagine the grief and pain and the sadness that they feel, the loss, the emptiness. But, time is going to change things. Their lives will move on, and what's going to happen, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what's going to happen, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be something absolutely amazing, and we don't know.
Yeah.
But in time, we will be able to look back on that. I mean, I know I can look back on the death of people that I have been, very hurt by losing them. My mother, for instance, and I can look back on it now, all these years later, and see such a positive influence in my life because of that loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything
Very
else?
good. Well, no, that kind of ties well to number 4, which is the resilience muscle. And I think for sure, like losing your mother, you mentioned that pain of that brought you strength emotionally, mentally, and spiritually through, over the next 10, 15 years, like the resilience that it puts in you, that you've gone through this loss and you are a fighter, you overcome. Like it builds that in you. It's like a muscle that we work and make stronger.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is not ever really giving up too, because I was thinking as you're talking about that, and you said you're a fighter. A friend of mine was a boxer. He was a professional boxer for a period of time, and he was really good at it. And he said that whenever a young boxer showed up at the gym and wanted to learn how to box, they would put him in the ring and just let him spar with a very seasoned boxer. And the coach would tell the seasoned boxer, just let him take, take some shots, at you, let him, see what he can do, move him around, get him tired. And then once he's, feels like he's somewhat comfortable in the ring, he goes, hit him real good on the nose, tag him, pop him really good in the face and see what happens. And one of two things happens. Either you cower and cover up and you wince and step backwards, or that pop in the nose gets you angry and you see red and you come out fighting and you just start swinging wildly. And usually when that happens, they stop it, but it's really just a test to see if somebody's a fighter or if they're not a fighter. And life will punch us in the face sometimes. And you've got really two options. You can cower or you can fight back, which fight back means sometimes just getting up every day and just not giving up. And over time, you will see that you will develop resiliency by just getting up and doing things. Yeah, you will get stronger. And it's one of the things that I think really hits home here is it's like really like weightlifting for your soul when you face pain day in and day out, whether it's grief or loss or maybe failure at something that you just keep failing at over and over again. Eventually you develop strength out of that. Yeah. And I think of, athletes oftentimes. I was talking with my trainer today, and he was saying about this really difficult race that he's about to do. And he's done things that are so difficult that he's just not even worried about it. Like he's calculated, he's prepared, but he's not like petrified, scared, or worried about it because he's felt the pain before so many times that he knows what it's going to feel like when it comes. It's familiar to him. And the more that we face pain and the more that we dip our toe into that ice cold water, we're familiar with it. And the pain actually starts to become comfortable. And because we've just been down that road before, when pain is so uncomfortable that you always try to avoid it at all costs, it's probably because you just don't experience very much pain. Yeah.
Yeah. Shy away from it.
Yeah.
Number 5, pain can make you an asset. And so the point here is that what you've walked through can connect you with someone else who's going through similar situation. And so it could be, you've gone through loss of a pregnancy. It could be loss of a parent.
A business.
So many things.
You could have gone bankrupt.
Yeah.
And how did you overcome that, right? And it's amazing when God puts people in your path that can help you because they've experienced the exact same thing that you've experienced, maybe with some different circumstances. And it means so much more when someone has actually walked that road and they're on the other side of it. And as difficult as what you have maybe to go through now, it sure is comforting to know that other people have experienced it and they're okay still on the other side of it. Yeah, you can definitely become an asset. And it makes me think of what we kind of listen to at church about light and dark and positive and negative in the world. And it's very easy to just be stuck in the dark, to focus on the negative. But I contend that there is just as much positive in your life as there is negative at any given moment. But it's whatever screams the loudest, whatever is most painful is usually what gets the most attention. So in order to, continue to deal with those things that are painful, one of the most helpful things I've ever done is to direct my attention to that's a blessing, that's positive in my life. And people always say to me, boy, you just seem so positive. You're always happy. You're always in a good mood. How do you do it? And it's really a matter of choice. It's really a matter of exercising that resiliency muscle and having gone through it so many times. And I would much rather choose to focus my attention on what's positive rather than what's negative, to be the light and not the darkness. Do you bring the light or do you bring darkness?
And Pastor Jeff was saying, like, it takes very little light to break through the darkness. Like, he was trying to create a dark room with his kids, and he said it's really difficult to obtain a completely dark room. Like, a little bit of light can really make a difference and penetrate it. So
yeah, it sure can.
Yep.
So be that light this week, and focus on all of those things that you are truly blessed with.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to the podcast, Sandy?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, we thank you all for joining us. Be sure to tune in each and every week so you can stay connected, be inspired, and keep moving toward your best life by stripping away your limitations. Do you want to pray?
Sure.
All right. Let's do that. Before I just gave the whole sign off. It doesn't matter.
Oh, Lord, we thank you for this time. I thank you for everyone listening, Lord, and that something tonight sparked with them, that there would be purpose to a pain that they're feeling, that they would be challenged to see positive over negative, and that they would be a beacon of light in the communities around us, Lord. And we thank you for inspiring us each day to be that light in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us. We'll see y'all next week.